Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Beefing up the border. I'm Hannah Doba with details on the president signing an order for troops to start guarding the line between Mexico and the U.S.
And the number of teens considering suicide in Butte is considerably down. Coming up, how the problem was turned around and why officials say there's a lot of work to do left.
6:30 on this Thursday. Meteorologist Matt Elwell joins us. You're going to be heading out to the Billion Auto Weather patio. I suggest an umbrella. It's a little damp out there right now.
It's not a bad idea. We've got some rain. We even have some snow in a few areas in southwest Montana, but most of us dealing with rain showers early. Temperatures this morning staying above the freezing mark for virtually everybody. Livingston sitting at 29. I expect the passes to continue to be an issue, at least with some slushy, wet roadways. Well, you don't see much on the satellite and radar imagery, but we have had some light rain showers from time to time this morning. Temperatures expected to top out into the 40s. Rain showers mixing with snow, certainly possible at times today. We're going to talk about the timing of all that, of course, coming up in just a few minutes.
All that and more on April 5th.
Yes.
Just a reminder, the date.
January 94?
January 96, yeah, I believe. Meantime, our top national story this morning, President Trump sending troops to the U.S.-Mexican border. In a memo to cabinet members, the president said, quote, "The situation at the border has now reached a point of crisis."
Now, some members of the Congress, though, as well as Mexican politicians, are taking some issue with the move. Hannah Doba has our latest from New York.
The threat is real.
The threat Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen is referring to is the one the Trump administration says exists on our southern border. That's why President Trump signed an order last night to deploy National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexican border.
We continue to see unacceptable levels of illegal drugs, dangerous gang activity, transnational criminal organizations, and illegal immigration flow across our border.
In addition to sending troops, the document also orders Homeland Security to submit a report within 30 days outlining what other steps can be taken. President Trump has repeatedly expressed frustration that full funding hasn't been approved for the border wall he promised on the campaign trail. The White House also blames lawmakers for not passing stronger immigration measures.
In between the Congress actually doing something, he's doing what he can to protect the people of this country.
Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado, among the Democrats criticizing the move, tweeting, "For months, my colleagues and I waited for the president to meaningfully engage on a bipartisan immigration bill to increase border security resources and protect dreamers. Unfortunately, he failed to lead, and rather than find real solutions on immigration, he continues to stoke fear." Mexican lawmakers unanimously approved a non-binding resolution yesterday, urging their president to temporarily suspend cooperation with the U.S. on immigration and security issues. Hannah Doba, CBS News.
Now, federal law prohibits the use of active duty service members for law enforcement inside the U.S. unless specifically authorized by Congress. But over the past 12 years, presidents have twice sent National Guard troops to border and bolster up the security and assist with surveillance and other types of support.
In other headlines this morning, police from both Bozeman and Belgrade responded yesterday to a report of a meth lab operating inside a room at the Super 8 Motel in Bozeman. Members of the Missouri River Drug Task Force and Bozeman Fire Department were on hand to clean up the lab. No reports of injuries to any of the employees or guests. Now, so far, no information on the suspects. Officials say the investigation is ongoing, and we, of course, will bring you more details as they become available. Also, a scam going around Montana State University and involves bogus checks. Thing is, the scam is nothing new. Dan's Morgan Davies has more on what the scam involves and how you can protect your money and your information.
A timely message was sent out by Montana State University to warn students, faculty, and staff about a scam going around campus.
What's happening is that scammers are sending people envelopes that appear to be coming from MSU. They're asking them to deposit cash into their accounts and then immediately send back gift cards and money to the scammers.
University police say they received 6 reports of the scam. And this type of scheme is a popular one.
Checks are usually the front line, what we deal with a lot, because they're easy to alter, and then they don't have a lot of the security features as U.S. currency.
Detective Vanuka says that any situation that involves a transfer of money to an unknown party should bring up red flags.
If it's too good to be true, it usually is, especially online. If you're dealing with your only correspondence is with somebody via online, just be suspicious, suspect maybe is a better word, and verify information.
The MSU check scam isn't the only one floating around. Police say this time of year they see all types of scams because it is tax season. People
posing as the IRS, people posing as law enforcement, indicating that either there was an arrest warrant. Sometimes it's very typical that they say that there's an arrest warrant because you did not pay your taxes, or you didn't show up for jury duty, or you didn't obey a summons. And to quickly quash that warrant, they could pay it right over the phone.
Remember, if you do receive a call like this, that these agencies will not ask for money over the phone. In Bozeman, Morgan Davies, MTN News.
Morgan reminds you, if you experience any of these types of scams, you can report it to the Bozeman Police Department.
In other news, former Superintendent of Public Instruction Denise Juneau is leaving Montana. In a unanimous vote, Juneau is selected to fill the seat as Seattle's school new superintendent. It takes her about 145,000 public students to the entire state of Montana to 54,000 students in Seattle alone. Juneau will be the first Native American superintendent in Washington state history. The outgoing Seattle superintendent announced in December of 2016 that he didn't want to continue the job. Juneau will be the district's 5th superintendent in the past 10 years.
Closer to home this morning, a special committee set up to address youth suicide in Butte released some positive news yesterday. MTN's John Amy tells us the rate of kids considering suicide has dropped, but there's still a long way to go.
Butte formed a committee in 2013 to address a rash of teen suicides. But when 2014 arrived, 3 Butte teens took their own lives over a 6-week period. The committee was shocked.
There were about 15 of us in a room at the courthouse looking at each other, scared to death. We had kids dying.
The good news, since that time, the Community Action Team reports that the rate of youth in Butte attempting suicide has dropped by 5% in 3 years. Intervention and training teachers and parents in recognizing suicidal behavior is credited for moving that rate from 17% down to 12%.
And given that 500 adults are now more in tune in what to look for, I think that has had a great effect. We have trained almost 1,500 students in the signs of suicide training.
Officials have been encouraged that Butte had a long run without a youth completing suicide. But that optimism was shaken last month by the suicide of an elementary school student here in Butte.
That little child was everyone's child. We're all affected by it. We're all traumatized by it. He was everyone's child, and it redoubles our resolve to keep going.
Sullivan adds that 12% of youth considering suicide is still too high, and the committee will continue working until that number hits 0. In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
Now, John also tells us the health department has several classes available for those interested in learning how to recognize the signs of suicide.
In other news, the Central Valley Fire Department broke ground on the new fire station this week. The new station will be just past the entrance of the Bozeman-Yellowstone International Airport on airport property. The station will not only serve parts of Belgrade seeing population growth, but will also help serve staff, passengers, and customers at the airport.
In other news, in Bozeman, the City Planning Department has received a new concept review for a duplex development at the intersection of North Wilson and Short. The developer is a company from California. The plan consists of 8 duplexes. There will be 3 bedrooms each with an attached garage. Project will be built in phases, 1 duplex per phase. New sewer and water services would be extended from North Wilson to the units. Now, the Planning Department is still reviewing the concept, and a lot of changes could be made to that plan before it is formally submitted.
And hundreds of people packed the Butte Civic Center last night for the annual event that helps feed school kids in the mining city. The Empty Bowls event featured more than 1,000 handcrafted bowls that were made by artists in Butte earlier this year. People who bought a ticket got to pick out their favorite bowl, then fill them with soup provided by several local restaurants. The event raises money for Butte's Emergency Food Bank's backpack program that provides needy school children with weekend lunches throughout the school year.
We're 25 minutes into it and almost all the bowls are gone. A lot of people showed up. They're very excited, very happy with it. Probably the best bowls we've ever made.
That is incredible. The event is expected to raise about $40,000 for that backpack program. I love that.
Good night for soup last night too, so that was a good call. Yeah, good idea.
Gosh, we could see that event grow even
sure.
more next year. I love it. Well, tax time is almost here, as we all know. And up next, we look at a popular scam lurking around and giving many people a costly headache.
But before that, let's check in with Nora O'Donnell, see what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Morning ahead here on CBS This Morning. An old Toyota recall is creating new problems for the automaker. Why a dealership owner is refusing to sell about $1 million worth of cars. And we'll show you how 3D printers can be used to build homes in just days. See you right at 7.